The newest adaptation of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire has just ended, and it's fair to say that it's a banger. House of the Dragons Season 2 had far too many issues to get flashbacks about Game of Thrones Season 8. Everyone expected that in the final episode there will be a great fight which will mark the beginning of the war called the Dance of the Dragons. And in fact, there should have been. But now, as we know, the finale was lame and it only seemed like a Season 3 trailer. But all of a sudden, HBO adapted a novella of less than 200 pages to the screen, which provided something far from what we expected. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms did not bring grandiose battles, 8-threaded plots, dragons, or political conspiracies. Instead, it brought a bunch of lovable characters, a filthy nightly tournament, and finally, a coherent story. But how did it achieve that everyone was so surprised by a tiny novella? George R.R. Martin published a novella called The Hedge Knight in 1998, which takes place about 90 years before the events of the main book series. Just briefly, our two protagonists are the poor-born fake knight Sir Duncan the Tall, and Egg, coming from the royal family, who is a
jolly fellow.
Through 6 episodes, we follow the evolution of their relationship, while the series unfolds questions such as what it means to be a true knight, or whether our origin or our actions are more important. I don't want to recap the whole story, so let's get to the point. What is the magic of the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms that it shocked everyone? What is the reason that it has a solid 9.0 rating on IMDb? Let's take a look at it. Chapter 1. Characters. Of course, it's not a new fact that Westeros is full of lovable characters. Just think of Sam, Ned, or Jon. The charm of them lies in the fact that they are not perfect people. We see where they came from, and we understand their motivations. Even if they do something questionable, we understand the reasons. We loved surprising character pairings like the Hound and Arya, or Jaime and Brienne. But here we see a completely new kind of relationship. Dunk arrives in Ashford to climb the social ladder. He wants to gain recognition and money, as he has nothing but 3 horses, a poorly sized suit of armor, and a few coins. Although he spent his past years alongside Sir Arland, who taught him what it means to be a knight faithful to his oath, he has no opportunity to put these into practice, as he was never knighted. What should a vigorous young man do who knows the knightly values, has the physical attributes for it, but has no chance to show them in action? He lies everyone that he was knighted and sets out to Ashford to participate in the upcoming jousting tourney. Next to Ashford in an inn, he meets Aegon Targaryen, Egg, who is posing as an orphan boy. As soon as he sees Dunk, his eyes light up for adventure, so he asks him to be his squire. Thank God we don't spend much time with the well-known dynamic of how the grumpy older characters grow to like the younger traveler. We have The Last of Us and The Mandalorian for that. Egg had everything in his whole life. He was raised in King's Landing, he could eat the finest bites, but he never had the opportunity to do what he truly wanted. Therefore, Egg wants to do what an average person of his age does. He longs for adventure and not to be treated as a prince. The whole plot is interesting because Dunk wants to strive up on the social ladder, while Egg wants to climb down. Dunk has years of experience behind him, so he possesses some wisdom, while Egg was taught by the most excellent maesters, but he could never experience what it's like not to be surrounded by castle walls. Essentially, we can see a street-smart versus book-smart contrast, but under everything, we just see 2 characters who are hungry for love. They came from different places, but their desires bring them together nonetheless. Of course, let's not forget about the other fantastic characters either. Baelor, the heir to the Iron Throne, who has everything to be a perfect ruler. A great warrior, wise, understands the common man, knows knightly honor. But what does this worth in a world that does not reward these? Even though Baelor had everything, we can see him perish at his brother's hand because of his honor. The question arises, do we owe loyalty to the knightly values or to the family? Baelor's character explores these questions perfectly, but as quickly as he came, he also departed. Let's also mention Maekar. Maekar Targaryen was the youngest of 4 children, so he had an inferiority complex all of his life. None of his kids can be called ideal. Daeron is an alcoholic, Aerion is cruel, Aemond is a nerd, and Egg wants to serve some hedge knight. Through Maekar, we can watch the story of a father and a brother, who although he serves his family and everything, and wants the best for his relatives, everything is still falling apart around him. And people say Maekar should not be anxious. Chapter 2. Mise-en-scène. In fact, the world of Westeros could never be called ugly, but here we can see it in a completely new perspective. Of course, it makes the situation easier that there are no huge battles and no flying flamethrowers either. In the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, we do not get so many locations, but still every moment is authentic. We have seen so many ugly green screen movies and series. Let's just remember Stranger Things Season 5. When they used the green screen, it was always obvious. The characters always stood far from the background with no scenery, and the lighting was so poor that no one believed what they saw. In contrast, during the story of Dunk and Egg, the costumes are beautiful. Finally, the knights are properly wrapped in armor from head to toe, and each one of them is well distinguishable. Arion's harsh obsidian black armor, whose helmet is equipped with plumes of fire, or the fuss-away apple pattern breastplate, all add greatly to the characters' personalities. Of course, I could mention the Baratheon headgear, the crutches, or basically everything that Baratheon looks pretty cool in here. Perhaps the best looking battle scene was brought before us by the Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Steel clashed against steel very slowly, but at least it was believable. One could imagine the taste of mud and blood mixing in their mouth. It wasn't well-groomed knights dressed in white fighting for the queen's favor, but man against man. It was morbid, bloody, but authentic. It reshaped everything that we had in our head about knightly tournaments. Due to every single wound, I could not decide to look away from the scene and simultaneously started wiping their eyes for more. Chapter 3. Audio. For me, the most outstanding part of the series is clearly related to the audio. Who the hell thought that we would hear jazz music in the world of Game of Thrones while being shot with a wide-angle camera? Some lines turned out to be so effective that hours later after the episode, my Reels feed was flooded with various edits.
Get up, Sir Duncan! Get up, sir!
And what a soundtrack. We can hear jazz music, an aria, and as well as a blues tune. And you know, these do not fit in the world of Westeros. These all shattered our expectations, but gave a unique flavor to the series. These songs were greatly combined with diegetic music. Diegetic music means that it can be heard by the characters of the series as well, meaning they are within the world. We could hear Egg singing about Westeros in a strange time signature.
To the cactus bastard, grass is green in summer, green grass I adore.
Here, world building merged with a playful atmosphere, which perfectly captured the mood of the chantable folk songs. We could hear a pop song in the Baratheon tent about a specially gifted girl called Alice.
Alice with 3 fingers, a copper in a glass, and 2 fingers less than most, she'll shut up your ass.
Besides being quite catchy, it further deepened the characters of Dunk and Egg with the dialogue attached to it. The songs simply serve the story and the world, not just pamper the viewer. And yes, the biggest banger song in the series is the Whistling Song. This is just simply honest and cute, just like the relationship between Dunk and Egg. I would especially want to highlight the way they used the Game of Thrones theme song in the series. The Night of the Seven Kingdoms did not bring what we expected. It did not hang the theme song to us in every single opening, but it had to be earned. It flirted with the viewer. We had to be patient. We could only hear the theme song when Baylor presented the knightly virtues to the public, when it best served the message of the series. That is, what is it truly means to be a knight.
I will take Sir Duncan's side.
Chapter 4. Shockwave. In order for the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms to have its own personality, to be independent from Game of Thrones and House of the Dragons, he had to state early to the viewer, I am different from what you have seen so far. At the beginning of all 6 episodes, something happened that either deceived the viewer or shocked them. In the first episode, we were so excited to hear the Game of Thrones theme song to play, and then all we got is Dunk relieving himself. He does this with such a level of audiovisual honesty that we can either laugh or to get shocked. Here, the series presents a decision to the viewer. It tells them that this would be different from what they've seen, and if you want to keep watching, then count on this. In the second episode, it shocks the viewer when Sir Arlan's huge sword is revealed. True, we have seen naked scenes in Game of Thrones more than once, but those were all built around women. Besides the fact that this says a lot about today's film culture, this is exactly why it could shock the viewer so much. In the third episode, we can see a lighter twist. Dunk and Egg are just laying on their backs, then Egg suddenly snorts. Here, the previously mentioned story continuation with audio appears, as it foreshadows Egg training with the horse. It's not grandiose, but creative and cute. The fourth episode continues the story where the third episode ended, so Duncan is in a prison cell waiting for his sentence. The scene starts from black, while we can see white dots that we take for stars. It's like they are showing the open sky. Then as the image brightens, we realize that this is the downfall of Dunk's prison. This is also a deception on the part of the creators, as seeing the sky provides a greater contrast to the confinement of the prison, especially knowing that previously we could see the Hedge Knight and Egg watching the stars. The fifth episode starts with 2 vomits. One leaves Dunk's mouth and the other Raymond Fossaway's. And lastly, in the 6th episode, the series opens with the previously mentioned jazz interlude. Not only does the song not fit into the world of Westeros, but even the wide-angle camera shot is unusual. It's exactly these scenes that create a unique personality to the series. It can be stated that these shocking openings and deceptions used in the Knights of the Seven Kingdoms surely filter out some of the viewers, but in my opinion, this is exactly what the goal was. They had to create something lasting for the viewers in 6 times 30 minutes, so there was no time in each episode to start off sluggishly. They had to quickly present to the viewers what they could expect from this package and whether this series is for them or not. Of course, the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has its flaws as well. In my opinion, it would have worked better if they had 3 one-hour-long episodes. But as we know, streaming is streaming. They have to make a living from themselves. It's understandable if someone wasn't captivated by the smaller tone and the absurd humor. But for those who liked it, we will be counting the days together for the 2nd season. Adieu.
Subscribe, Sir Duncan. Subscribe, sir.
Subscribe.